Hello again, and in this video we're going to look at creating an extra safe throttle cut switch. The program for this has come from the excellent website rc-thoughts.com, which has lots of info on Jeti things, lots of Lua apps for those who are into it, and all the diagrams and software for making some of your own telemetry sensors. And I've made quite a few. They're GPS, G meters, current meters. It's all very good stuff. And there's an excellent program on there for making an extra safe version of your throttle cut. But I thought, oh, we'll show it here because there might be people who have a look at my videos who don't look at RC Thoughts. And also some people find it easier to follow watching it on a video than compared to reading it on a screen and trying to follow that. So let's have a little look. What's the problem? Right, go into Menu, into Advanced Properties, Other Model Options, and down here is our throttle cut switch, which for me is this one here. It's off at the moment. If I switch it on, I have a handy little cularis here. And so if I operate the throttle, nothing happens. And throttle lock off, or throttle cut off, and I've got to do this one-handed, so I'll just rotate it a bit, counter the torque, throttle runs. What's the problem? Well, your throttle cut is on, but your throttle's been nudged open a couple of clicks or more, or even at wide open throttle, and you may accidentally nudge the throttle cut switch, or you just go and think, I'll take off now, I'll switch off the throttle cut without realizing your throttle's wide open, and oh, you weren't expecting that. Could be a bit dodgy. Now, there's two ways around that. One is physical and one is in programming. The physical version, Jeti sell this nice locking toggle switch. See, you can't move it. You have to pull out the spring-loaded toggle, move it to the other end and release. And I did have that originally in my slot for the throttle cut, but on one of my jet models I had to use that switch for sort of emergency air down on the retracts, and I couldn't cope with a locking toggle switch when I'm rushed in the middle of a jet flight trying to get air into the system to get the wheels down, so I had to go back to an ordinary switch. And that's where this lovely bit of programming from rc-thoughts.com comes into play. So let's have a look at what we do. The idea behind it is that not only must your switch be moved to the run position, but your throttle would need to be at idle before the motor would start to respond as you open the throttle. If the throttle is not at the motor off position, then switching off your throttle cut won't affect it until you bring the throttle back to idle. And to do that, we cascade some logical switches. So we have a look at that. Go into logic switches, we'll give it a label. I will use the very imaginatively named throttle cut or THR cut, or even lock THR lock. Say OK. Enable it. Come down to Control 1. Control 1, and I'm just going to disconnect the battery on the model for a moment so we don't get any inadvertent running of that whilst we mess about with this. Okay, Control 1, wiggle the throttle, and you want it set up like this with proportional and centered highlighted. If you see that, keep pressing proportional. If you see that, keep pressing proportional. Get it to here and make sure that center is not blacked out, but that the highlight is on, so that moving the throttle it goes from -100 nicely all the way up to +100. Say OK to that. Come along to here. We want this to say X is less than, which means X and then the little arrow pointing to the left. So select that. And the value wants to be about -95, 96, 97%. By playing with it, I've found that because my throttle has all the little steps on it, being a fixed wing flyer. The difference between the last step and second last step and fully motor off is about, jumps between about 95 to 100%. So if I stick minus 96% on, that means the throttle stick really has to be right back all the way for control 1 to switch on. Lovely. Control 2. Put your throttle lock in its on position, i.e. motor off. Select the control and switch it to the on position. Say, or which is throttle lock off but motor on position. Okay. Come down here, and the condition we're going to choose is multi, which is an interesting one. Logic normally just deals with two states, on or off, yes or no, true or false, 1 or 0. And multi produces a sort of grey area in between. Let's have a look at what it's going to do. Here's the output from our switch. At the moment, my throttle is all the way back. So control 1 is less than minus 96%. Yes, so that's on. Control 2, the switch is on. Yep, so the output is on. But what happens if I bring the throttle up above minus 96%? See, the state goes to 0. Not to an X, not to the off. It goes between on and neither on nor off. Put that back. Bring this switch back. And once again, the state goes neither on nor off. Only when both of them fail does it go to the off state. This is important for how it works. Right, okay, say okay to that. Come down to L2, and we're going to create another logic switch. And I use the incredibly imaginative name of Throttle Lock 2. You can call it T1 and T2, you can call it anything you like, quite frankly. It makes no difference, it just helps you find things later on when you've got to select them. Say enabled. Come down to control 1 will be the logic switch we've just created. So press the plus button, logical switches, throttle lock, say OK. Come down, control 2 will be, once again, our little switch here. Now you want it to pick it up in the on position. It's in the on position because I left it there before, so I'll just wiggle it. I can say reverse that so that now it's off when we're back there and on in the motor run condition. Yep, say OK. And our condition will be and. So the first logic switch we created has to be on, and our throttle lock has to be in the motor run position. Both of them, the output will be on. If one of them fails, such as I move the throttle open a bit, no, it won't work that way, we'll show you here. Right, there we go. Throttle lock is on. That has gone to a 0. My throttle's all the way back, it's off. If I move the throttle, we can see that, but the output from throttle lock has remained static, no matter what I'm doing with the throttle. If I switch it to motor run, they both come on. See that? Throttle lock remains on even though I'm moving the throttle around. The interesting thing is, I'll put it at half throttle, throttle lock on, output to 0. Now still at half throttle, switch the throttle lock off. There. Logic switch 1's gone to this weird state, but the throttle lock has remained at off. And it won't come on until I pull the throttle all the way back to motor off. There. But now it remains on. Wouldn't matter what I'm doing. Anyway, let's have a look at how we use that. Go up to other model options, down to our throttle cut, where we had the physical switch. Go into that, clear it out, and we're going to use logic switch 2 now as the throttle lock. OK to that. Now, you probably find that you have to reverse it. Remember, when that's ticked, the throttle lock will be on. And at the moment, I'm in the run condition with the throttle back. So I don't want the throttle lock to be on there. See, if I move the switch when I want the throttle lock, it's gone off. So reverse it, and now it will be OK. So say OK. And that's it done. Check it before you wire up the model in your servo outputs. Here we are. Servo 1 is the throttle. I've got the switch in the motor run position. If I operate the throttle, you can see it working. I'll put the switch into the motor off position and operate the throttle. Nothing happens. Better still, I'll put it now to half throttle. I'll switch the motor run on, but you see it's still locked in the off position. And I can move the throttle, it's still locked off, and it won't respond to the throttle until I bring the throttle all the way back. Now it works. And there you are, nice little safety throttle lock.